Hey, I just wanted to give a heads up that this episode of Hey That's Weird contains some descriptions of open drug use. Nothing heavy, I just know some people are sensitive to the topic. Alright, enjoy the show.
And he didn't tell me about this at the time, but he came downstairs and just kind of sat there looking pretty weird for about a half hour and then said, "Alright, man, I'm going to leave." And I'm kind of thinking, dude, if you're feeling anything like I am right now, you probably shouldn't be driving. But okay, man, if you really feel the need to leave. Yeah, he was very freaked out. He just wanted to go home.
Welcome to Hey That's Weird episode 23 with me, your host, Luke. Thanks to those who have eagerly awaited a new episode while I moved house and started a new job over the last little while. I appreciate your patience. I know it can be frustrating when you're expecting a scheduled episode and it doesn't show up. So hopefully this and the next few weeks makes up for it. Thanks to Jill, Mia, Kalista, Deirdre, Kyle, Lynn, and Club Turbo for sharing their encouraging feedback on Spotify. Also, special thanks to Linda, Rachel Rona, and Fairy Sarah 1989, who have all left super nice reviews for the show over the last little bit. The interaction with you guys is one of the coolest things about making this podcast. For starters, if you're familiar with Discord, then yes, Hey That's Weird has a Discord. There's only 7 of us so far, but it's been a lot of fun chatting with the few who have signed up. It's free, and as well as Instagram, it's probably the best way to stay up to date with the show. Anyway, before I yap anymore, let's get on with this week's episode. This week, I'm joined by Evan from Green Bay, who currently lives in Indiana. Weirdness has been present in his life since he was young, but he's never really talked much about it. After inheriting his grandparents' house, things began to get a little more strange. Evan has a few different life experiences, so I asked him to tell them all, and he was cool enough to do so. So without further ado, Evan, let's get weird.
My name's Evan. I'm from Green Bay, Wisconsin. I currently live in Indiana, but grew up in Green Bay, and pretty much all my stories, with the exception of one of them, took place there. For a little bit of context, I'm a man, about 34, about 160 pounds, 6'6", covered in tattoos. My grandma and grandpa's house growing up, it was pretty haunted, not just according to me, according to a number of people actually. Like, we used to party there quite a bit. During the time of this story, I was drinking a lot. I mean, I'm from Wisconsin, that's all you do there. It's really all there is, it's snowing 7 months of the year, you don't really have a whole lot else to do. So, we'd be hanging out there. My parents only lived about a mile away, so we'd go stay at my grandparents' house and bring the PS2 over there and play all the rated M games that we couldn't get away with playing at our actual house. So, we'd go over there, and after Grandma and Grandpa went to bed, we'd make up a couple mixers and sneak out back and smoke some weed and play Grand Theft Auto until 4 a.m. My grandpa passed away when I was in high school. I was about 16 or 17, and he had very aggressive cancer. I don't remember where exactly, but he was in a lot of pain. He couldn't do anything by himself, and I pretty much lived there just helping him be able to go to the bathroom and even get up out of his chair. So that definitely was really shitty when he passed away. He died in that house, and then my grandma made it another 8 or 9 years before she also passed away in that house, and we kind of just had it sitting vacant for a while. Nobody was really living there after my uncle, who was staying there as well, moved out into his own apartment. So it needed some work, and I have generally always been a handyman kind of person, so I told him I'd go paint and clean the place up and just straighten things out there in the intervening time until the house was able to be put on the market and potentially sold. So we again would be partying over there, and I was working as a bartender and a tattoo artist, and we'd have after-bar parties there, and, you know, sometimes they'd get pretty wild. I mean, we'd have about 40 or 50 people in there and just drinking around 3, 4 in the morning, and, you know, a lot of people had weird experiences, but it wasn't really anything I had particularly given a whole lot of thought to. I mean, we were doing coke and taking acid and mushrooms and Molly and, you know, whatever you could think of. I mean, we're in the service industry. You're trying to have fun when you get off. So most of the weird things that happened there, I really just wrote off as being, you know, I don't know what that was. I was just tripping or something. But, you know, there was one night that one of my friends had came over, and we were pretty prolific at taking psychedelics. And we'd dropped probably 6 hits of acid apiece and decided to just hang out and watch some movies. I want to kind of give some context. Like, you know, when you're on drugs like that, you have a certain amount of ability to discern that, like, okay, this is just a weird effect. Or, you know, like, anytime I've been on acid, I'm not seeing stuff that's not there. You know, it's weird effects. The perception different, but, like, you can still tell fantasy from reality for the most part. And my buddy had gone upstairs to go to the bathroom, and when you're in my grandparents' house, the bathroom looked into the bedroom that my grandma used to use and passed away in. And as he came out of the bathroom, that door just went from pretty much fully shut to all the way open, just very slowly over the course of about 20 seconds. And he didn't tell me about this at the time, but he came downstairs and just kind of sat there looking pretty weird for about a half hour and then said, "All right, man, I'm gonna leave." And I'm kind of thinking, dude, if you're feeling anything like I am right now, you probably shouldn't be driving. But okay, man, if you really feel the need to leave. Yeah, he was very freaked out. He just wanted to go home. Other friends told me various stories similar to that after the house finally got sold. But, you know, I lived there for about 4 months, and I'd hear noises like somebody just pounding something on the counter or dropping a cinder block on the floor or something. And I'd go up there with a baseball bat, and nobody would be anywhere in the house. Nothing had fallen over. You couldn't see anything. You'd kind of hear creaks on the stairs. There's a couple times that the pull chains for the lights would be just swinging around in a circle. And I'm kind of thinking, when's the last time I stood up? I don't know. Yeah, maybe I bumped into it. You know, oh, that door I just walked past 30 seconds ago is open now. Well, the house may be settled, or maybe I bumped into it. I don't know. You know, I didn't want to pay too much attention to it. It wasn't anything particularly important to me. Fast forward to around the time that the house is being put on the market, a girl that I had worked with was actually interested in buying the house. And, you know, not through any facilitation of mine, she just happened to come across it on the market, and her husband wanted to buy it. And she messaged me on Facebook a little while after that, you know, said something to the effect,
"Hey, we're having some strange stuff happening here. Did you ever experience anything paranormal, or did anybody die in the house?"
So, that's kind of interesting. I said, yeah, I mean, I saw some weird stuff there, but I mean, we were always pretty messed up, so I just kind of figured I imagined it.
So, no, you definitely didn't. You know, would you mind giving me kind of some of, we just want to get the house blessed, you know, what were their names and stuff?
You know, I let her know and whatever, and she said, okay, yeah, I mean, we've been hearing people running up and down the stairs and hearing loud bangs and scratching noises and having doors opening and closing, and I said, well, that's pretty weird. I don't know what to tell you. Obviously, I noticed this stuff, but I didn't really pay it any mind. But when somebody a bit older than me with kids and is actually pretty sober living there tells me, I'm like, okay, I guess maybe there was something strange going on there. About 2017, my aunt lived overseas in Greece, and she had agreed with all of my cousins and my brother and I to, when we graduated from high school, she'd take us on a trip to somewhere in the world, wherever we wanted to go, kind of thing. And I was the favorite nephew. Comparisons between me and the others weren't really. I had an easy time being the favorite. I had kind of conned her into letting me go to multiple countries because she was a missionary for about 35 years, and she had friends all over the place. So I flew into the UK and met her there, and then we kind of wandered our way across Europe and ended up stopping for the trip in Greece where she was living at the time. So we were spending about a week there after 3 weeks of wandering all over Europe and taking planes, trains, automobiles, mopeds, buses, ferries, pretty much everything. So I was finally just relieved to be able to get some consistent sleep, more than anything, because I don't sleep well when I'm traveling. Those weird European square pillows that are about 2 inches thick are just impossible to actually sleep with. So I was very happy to have gone to IKEA and bought a nice, comfortable pillow and be able to sleep. Little did I know it was middle of summer in Greece, and I didn't really consider the fact that it was going to be hotter than anything I could actually tolerate. So I had about 3 fans running on me, and I was still pouring sweat at all times. And I was just getting headaches from even being out in the heat. I'm from Wisconsin. I can't handle 105 degrees with 85% humidity. It's not what I'm made for. So one of the last nights that we were there, I was trying to sleep. At least I was asleep at some point. And I woke up, and the room was dark, but I could still see everything, and I just had blinds, so I was able to see all the defining features of the room. I'd been in it for a couple days, so I knew where everything was. As I said, it's, even at night, high 80s, low 90s. It's hot. And I woke up shivering. I was frigid. I'm from Wisconsin. This felt like middle of winter. I was outside in shorts and a t-shirt. And I'm just can't even process what's going on. How am I so cold right now? I'm pretty much unable to move. I at the time thought it was sleep paralysis of some sort until I was listening to another show where somebody described something similar where they weren't quite paralyzed, but they could just barely move. I very slowly, it felt like it took me about 5 minutes to get my hand onto the blanket that was on the back of the bed I was sleeping on and roll onto my side and kind of halfway at least pull it over my shoulders. And I'm just, almost teeth chattering if I could actually move my mouth. All of a sudden I wake up and I'm facing the opposite direction that I was just facing with the blanket on my other shoulder. I've kind of tried to look into it a tiny bit. I'm really not sure what that possibly could have been, because, I was somewhat able to move, but woke up with an almost perfect mirror image of how I had been laying during my experience. So yeah, there's another show I listened to called Odd Trails, and somebody had written into that and was saying that they'd had something similar happen to them, but there was like a weird goat person in the room or something with them, really creepy stuff. I didn't see anything out of the ordinary. It's just the same room I'd been in. I've always been a pretty vivid dreamer. I've kind of tried to lucid dream. I never really have any luck with it because my dreams are just, kind of almost commonplace, but, have a lot of detail that when I wake up, I'm kind of, how could you not tell that was a dream? Come on. I was dreaming something similar to maybe I was on an alien ship of some kind. I couldn't really specifically say for certain that it was a ship. But I was in some kind of exam room kind of thing. I could, kind of see a medical type environment around me. And something was being done to me. I couldn't see what. I couldn't really get a feel for what it was, but I was really starting to get a very clear sense of discomfort. Physical discomfort, not just like I was in an uncomfortable situation. It was starting to actually feel like it was hurting. And right as I was starting to try and actually scream or something, I was getting this really pungent smell of burnt metal. Right as that kind of peaked as to, this scent is just making me about ready to pass out on top of the pain, I just, really suddenly came awake and sat up in bed. I've listened to a lot of different podcasts for a lot of years. I've always been into kind of, alternative topics, and I, got up and got naked in the bathroom and checked my whole body for any kind of marks or anything that could indicate that I'd maybe actually been abducted. And I really couldn't find anything, so I wasn't really too concerned, but I did kind of start looking up, what would cause you to actually smell something like that in a dream. So the information on it's pretty vague. It generally says that, between 1 and 20% of people, some weird percentage that was very amorphous that, said a very, very small percentage of people actually experience smells in their dreams, and usually it's caused by you having smelled something before you went to bed or tied to emotional stuff. I'm not entirely sure as to whether or not anything happened, but as I said, I remember my dreams pretty often. I can recall dreams from back when I was 4 or 5, and I've never remembered actually smelling something that came across to that level. Probably maybe smelled something in dreams before, but it's never actually stuck out in my mind with the combination of actually feeling like something hurt. Like I have weird dreams where I'm working on some 4-story treehouse and I lose my balance and fall and hit a rock and it doesn't hurt. So it didn't really seem like your typical dream experience where I'm just having, some vivid dream that I am imagining, but at the same time I couldn't find any evidence of anything other than that had happened to me, so hopefully I was just dreaming. The smell almost made my nose hurt, but I couldn't necessarily say if it was for sure the source of the pain was coming from there. It's really hard for me to quantify like what I saw, because I'm one of those people that, whatever percentage it is, it's called aphantasia, where you can't actually visualize stuff. Like if I close my eyes and try and picture what happened, it's just black. So I'm not really able to process things on that level as to like really remembering what something looked like. Like I do keep track of my dreams, and I kind of tried to at least look up my notes that I'd made about it, but it was really just, that I had a weird experience.
I asked Evan if there was anything else he wanted to talk about. Had he had any other weird experiences during his life? Here's what he had to share.
Kind of yes and no. I mean, when you're up in the backwoods where there's absolutely no light pollution, you just lay on your back, you can see some weird stuff flying around up there in general, which I've told some people about stuff like that, and they're like, oh, it's just satellites. I'm like, there's literally no possibility that satellites move that fast and that erratically. Like, I've seen specks of light that are doing loop-the-loops at, 1 loop per half second. I mean, a satellite's not moving like that. I've definitely seen quote-unquote UFOs. I'm not going to say I've seen an alien craft, but I've definitely seen weird stuff flying around in the sky plenty of times. Me and a couple of my buddies are big into camping, and specifically winter camping, so we'd be out there all times of year when nobody else would be. So we've had a couple weird experiences just out and about in the woods. It's more just weird feelings, I guess, if you know what I mean? When you're just kind of like out in an area and you're like going along at night and you just like have a very intense feeling like I shouldn't go any further down this trail. I just need to turn around and go back to the campsite. A couple of my buddies have some decent stories about weird stuff happening to them, but for the most part, it's like I've, just heard weird stuff, or like there's been 1 or 2 times that we'd camp at this place that I know we're nowhere near a railroad track and I can hear a train going through at night and stuff like that, but it's not, anything that's really more than 10 seconds of a story. I've been religious since I was a kid, and I still am, and I don't think there's anything in like religion or anything like that dissuades us from the idea that there's other stuff out there. I've talked to a lot of people who are kind of like, well, the Bible says that this, and it doesn't say anything about that, so that's that. I'm like, nah, I don't think so. There's a lot of stuff that clearly happens in the world the Bible didn't talk about, and I think that there is a higher power, and I think it's well aware of the fact that we don't need to know everything. Human beings are barely capable of understanding our own actions. Like, we don't need to know everything that's going on in the universe. Most people I know can't even give you a reason for why they did something. I think we're just kind of incapable of being left to our own devices, and we need intervention on some level or other as a species, as a civilization, and however you want to look at it. We tend to have an idea that we just need to destroy stuff that we don't agree with. Most higher powers tell us that that's not the way to go about things, so it seems like there's something out there trying to keep us alive. Even like the Contact with Jodie Foster, Matthew McConaughey, where it's just like, even if you particularly don't believe that, like 85% of the world believes that something created us, and like pretty much everybody across time has believed it. You're really going to say that like the rest of us are stupid? We've gotten away from this whole idea that like, oh, there's spirit and there's anything like really behind like what's going on in the world. And younger generations are like flocking back to church and spirituality because we can just instinctively tell that's bullshit. It's like we're spiritual beings. Like I like to read Dean Radin. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but he goes into a lot of this stuff about like just innate human capability and like how we all just have like levels of psychic power and intuition and all this stuff that like just because we don't use it anymore is why it doesn't work. Like we just won't accept it. Like you can't use something you don't believe it's real. the fact that we're just like basically limiting ourselves. I think that's also part of us, kind of being created to be more. We're not really able to be what we were meant to be because of our own inhibitions or our own, lack of willingness to accept anything other than what we have been told. Kind of like the whole UFO thing, whatever it is, it's like people want to believe what they've been told by somebody who knows better than them. Most people I talk to about it, they don't really want to get into the whole, it's like, I don't want to have an opinion that people think I'm crazy, or I don't want to go against the status quo, and that is slowly changing. Of course, in my time, I got a book when I was like 5 or 6 from some school fair that was like, the, unsolved mystery kind of things. What happened to the Roanoke colony and Amelia Earhart and all that kind of crap. And, that was what got me interested in the whole topic, just, there's a lot of weird stuff out there that we just don't know. We're never going to know. And I think it's just fun to, at least go into the different angles of the stuff and see what different people have managed to come up with. And there's a lot of different people with different ideas out there who you listen to something they say and you kind of put together something that you've heard from a couple other places and bam, there you go. Now you've figured something else out.
Finally, long-time listeners know I like to give my storytellers a chance to talk about something they're passionate about. It can be a hobby, a charity, a business, or just something for fun. Here's what Evan wanted to talk about.
I'm a big advocate for animal adoption for sure. I've always gotten shelter dogs, and I think that, supporting your local shelters however you can is really important. I try to at least monetarily donate when I can. There's a couple different dog rescues that I try and support. But, even if you just have time to go walk a dog, get them out of the shelter for a little bit, it's invaluable enrichment for them, The animals are out there suffering, and there's all these shelters anywhere near me are at capacity. We're having problems all over the world, specifically in this country too. But, my current dog, I got him for free because he's 130 pounds and nobody would take him because of his size. He bounced around to 5 or 6 families and nobody could even afford to feed him. So I ended up with him, and, it's a problem all over the country, specifically in the area I live, like over in kind of the Midwest. Like people just be driving down the highway and see litters of puppies that somebody just threw out on the side of the road. Unreal what people do to animals that can't even fend for themselves and not even care. So I really think it's important to do what you can, even if you don't have money, at least to try and donate some time if you can.
That does it for episode 23. I really enjoyed my time chatting with Evan. I appreciated how open he was, and he was willing to share his opinions on some of life's biggest questions. If you have a story, multiple stories, or any weird experiences and you want to make an episode with me, please reach out. You can contact me via the podcast email at heythat'sweirdpodcast@gmail.com. You can message me on Instagram at heythat'sweirdpodcast, or you can follow along in Discord. I'll put all the links to all these things in the show notes, so it should be easy to find. I have something a little ambitious coming up soon. I'll be putting together Hey That's Weird's first 2-part episode with my new friend Emily. Stay tuned for that, it's going to be a lot of fun. And no, I won't make you wait 3 weeks in between 2 episodes. Okay, thanks for listening this far, I'll speak to you all soon, and until next time, stay weird.